Hey there, friends! So we're finally getting around to looking at races, but I want to do things a little differently. Instead of just going over races cut and dry, like boring, I want to spice things up a little bit. So this is actually going to be the first of a few shorter videos going over what we know so far about each major race individually, and then just theory crafting with them essentially. Keep in mind, this is all early pre-alpha stuff, so much of the info here can change and probably will. Also, if you're not new to AOC, the first part of this video is probably not new to you, so timestamps are in the description. Well, we're gonna get things started off with the Dwarves, so let's jump right in. Now I know the Dwarves actually make up two races, the Dunir and the Nikua, but it's more convenient just to group them together for this video so I can just talk about them all in one setting. A little backstory. So the Dwarves are thought to be one of the first races to appear in Vera. Upon their arrival, they found solace in one of the mightiest mountains in the land, which they later named Dune. How original. Dwarves in Vera are similar to dwarves in other fantasy universes, as they tend to stick to mountains and create legendary forges of immense power. The Dunir did just that and are most known for their tradition, artisanship, and strength. Like every civilization though, rebels and outcasts were born, and the dwarves are no exception. Tired of the tradition, confinement, and hot forges of the mountain, the Nikua took to the coast to explore the unshackled lifestyle that Vera had to offer. By living off of the land and finding humility in the familial bond between them, these dwarves have forged a new way forward for their proud race. From what it sounds like, Nikua are built up of many small tribes or communities, while the Dunir are part of a larger dwarven empire. I really like the way Intrepid Studios approached dwarves because although they decided on the cliche dwarves under the mountain theme, the more nomadic aspect of the Nikua really appeals to me and shows how truly diverse a cookie cutter race can actually get. Now with all this info, what classes do you think would be a good fit for either the Dunir or the Nikua? Well, I have a few ideas. So right off the bat, I think we can all agree that the most important thing about dwarves is...
Gotta get out of combat. Okay, here. She does a somersault! It's so awesome! Ah!
I think the Dunir's focus on strength would make them excellent candidates for fighters or tanks, and not so much for anything magic based. We're not 100% sure how our racial decisions will influence the stats, other than giving them a slight boost, but based on their description, I would put them right around this area here. If we think about other MMOs, any brute force combat classes usually utilize a strength stat, and from what I can tell, fighters and tanks are probably going to fit that bill. Now throw their artisan ability into the mix, and these dwarves will not only be able to swing a mighty axe, but they'll be able to craft it too. It just seems to have a lot of good synergy. Looking at some not so obvious classes, I think wardens would be another cool idea for the Dunir. They would still be utilizing the tank primary, but adding that range to their kit could make them actually quite deadly. Another option would be the blade caller. Now I know what I said before about magic classes, but as we know from the wiki and some of Steven's interviews, the summoner secondary might just add the ability to summon weapons that still deal physical damage, so it'll still stay true to the Dunir's strengths. These are just a few that I can see working really well with them. Now shifting to the Nikua, I can see them veering away from purely strength-based classes and maybe focusing on their dexterity or even magic-based classes. For example, anything in any of these areas here. Now some might not agree with their stats favoring certain magics, but just hear me out. As the Nikua left the comforts of Dune, they probably met other races as they settled in different areas, such as outcasted elves, wandering humans, bloodthirsty orcs, etc. These races could have crossed paths with some Nikuan communities and taught them how to live off the land, or master the elements to make their nomadic life more prosperous. Using this theory, one class that I think Nikuans would excel at is the Hawkeye. Doubling down on that ranger archetype could capitalize on that dexterity and deal with enemies from afar. Not only that, dwarves are obviously small, right? But they're probably also quiet, making them perfect hunters, so another option would be the rogues. Another class would be the shaman. If the Nikua will actually have higher magical stats, this class would be a nice mix of what the race could have learned upon their descent from the mountain. I would imagine Nikuan shamans could be seen in their coastal villages, healing the wounded and summoning elementals to aid in the defense of their communities. Lastly, I want to draw some attention to the bard, a staple of pretty much any nomadic or wandering race. I think the bard would be a great way to mix the traditional Dunir with the newfound teachings of the Nikuan. How cool would it be to see a seasoned ex-Dunir fighter or tank join the ranks of any Nikuan army and adopt the bardish lifestyle of a tellsword or siren, singing grand tales of their Dunish ancestors and inspiring those around them. I don't know, fantasy-wise, that just sounds really cool to me. Before I finish up, I want to talk about racial augments. According to Steven, racial augments will change how abilities function and look. We don't know much else, but I have some ideas. How cool would it be if Dunir fighters had the ability to rush a shorter distance, but stun or disorient upon collision? This would be due to their shorter legs, but stockier builds, right? It's pretty simple. Or, Dunir tanks could use their taunting ability to call on the very mountain that gives them strength, which would be Dune. As Dune answer their cries, they're magically donned a layer of stone or molten armor to shield them from the onslaught of their foes for a certain period of time. Now what about the Nikua? What if instead of just summoning a fire elemental, Nikuan shamans had the ability to harness the power of Dune and summon lava elementals? Or Nikuan rangers could use slightly imbued magical arrows made of hardened coral. This could add more bleeding effects to their kit. These are just some ways I think the system can work really well, and either way, I just can't wait to see what the Dunir Dwarves actually have in store for us. Other than this.
One sec. Gotta get out of combat. Okay, here. She does a somersault! It's so awesome! Ah! Sorry, I get really excited.
And that about wraps this one up. I can't wait to get more info on these guys, honestly. Learn more about racial augments and, all that stuff. I just think this holds so much potential for the game. Hopefully you all like this as much as I did. And if you did, hit that like button. Subscribe for more content. I'm going to be working on the other races here pretty soon, probably in the coming week or weeks, so look forward to that. As always, if you have any feedback for me, throw it in the comments below. I love talking to you guys. I love the discussion. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.